It's 3 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon. Thanks for tuning into Cannabis Legalization News, where we explain marijuana laws so you can change them. Let's say hey to your hosts. What's up, Miggy?
Hey.
What's up, Tom?
What's happening?
Nothing
Thank you
much.
so much for tuning in, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe to stay on top of all cannabis legalization news and get awesome tidbits like the helpful news that one of our clients and viewers use to win his craft grower license. So
Yeah.
put out to all the winners, including the ones that weren't my client. But if you guys have any questions, drop me a line at Cannabis Industry Lawyer on Instagram. How's your day going, Miggy?
That's good. You know, get ready to go camping with the wife. So happy wife, happy life.
Happy wife, happy life. And we're coming to you on tape from tomorrow. So Chuck Schumer has released a strategy to discuss getting enough votes to pass marijuana legalization. Marijuana Moment is reporting that Senator Majority Leader Chuck Schumer from New York on Thursday discussed his strategy for getting enough votes to pass federal marijuana legalization bills and described the process of soliciting feedback on his legislation from colleagues and working to incorporate any requested modifications in order to get the measure across the finish line.
Schumer told ABC's The View, "We're now going around to our colleagues saying, would you sign on to the bill? And if you don't like what's in the bill, want some modifications, tell us. I want to get this done. And I think we will get it done because it's so overwhelmingly supported by the American people." I don't know, man. We're still talking about, like, we talked about this last week when he did announce it, man. Like, how are you going to come out with a plan? But this is the politics of politics.
Yeah, but he's hustling, and I like to, shout outs to Chuck Schumer and also Cory Booker. And if you want to get in their mind, I mean, think about what they're saying in the Senate and where you think their states' regulation and landscape and awards of licenses are going to go. I can't wait to help some people get licensed out there, and that's going to be an exciting fall if New Jersey starts and releases its application season. But it just goes to show that they are really concerned about that slim majority that they need to get out of any Republican filibuster.
Well,
so 60 votes needed to get out of that.
Yeah, no, this is ridiculous. Like, the filibuster was killing us right now.
Well,
like,
who do you think's who's gonna filibuster this bill and keep it from being brought up for a vote?
Man, I could name like everyone that voted against the election, all of them. Any
Yeah.
I'm just saying, these people have no common sense or dignity about them.
Well, I hope that they use this as a method to weed some people out in the 2022 election, because we will use our voice to the extent that YouTube overlords allow us to be seen on the internets, to have somebody voted out of office then be like, oh, that guy held it up. Well, don't elect him next time.
I mean, like, here's an overview of some of the main points that they're seeking comment on. Measuring the potency of cannabis products, the overlap of definitions of hemp and marijuana, and regulations for synthetic THC, regulatory responsibilities for various federal agencies, and FDA funding. I mean, that right there is a big handful, but there's still 4 more bullet points.
Yeah, because they also have to coordinate federal and state law enforcement responsibilities for cannabis, especially this weird cannabis interstate commerce. Yeah. Regarding it would be very difficult for us to ship it from Illinois to Michigan, to lawful markets, because we'd have to, I guess, fly it into Michigan and go skip over Wisconsin, or take the ferry from Chicago to the west side of Michigan. But we can't transport it anywhere else. I mean, it would only have to leave Illinois through the airlines, I guess.
But Schumer said your state can elect out, but you're allowed to drive through, which still is going to be a quandary in itself for the people.
Oh, I thought that you weren't allowed to drive through. I thought it says the state's law is the federal law. And so, as soon as the Cresco shipment bound to Pennsylvania leaves Illinois and it hits Indiana, they could just arrest them.
Well, I imagine there's like hazmat things, right? There's things that the federal government does that the states won't allow, like hazmat driving. I had a cousin that used to do that. You need a special license to get, especially in Hawaii. But I'd imagine going through Wyoming, right. They don't have toxic waste plants, but I imagine if that's the route that somebody needs to go to drop off that cargo, they're going to be allowed to take it. I mean, and that's going to be part of the infrastructure of regulation, right? Most people don't realize there is intercommerce rules that we have to abide by for interstate stuff. That's going to be the growing thing for the MSOs. These guys who've been preparing themselves and hoarding everything, they're not ready for this interstate business.
No, the industry is also not ready for the GMP requirements in that interstate business that the feds are mandating. And so that's interesting because one of the bullet points is that they're going to try to balance the efforts to reduce barriers to entry into the cannabis industry while mitigating the influence of illicit cannabis operators. So how do you do that? I mean, if you don't bring down the barrier to entry, you really don't snuff out the illicit cannabis operator. And if you say all the state laws are going to be able to survive that illicit operation, like, holy crap. One of my clients or somebody who knows one of my clients passed one of my notice to law enforcement for hemp to somebody who, you know what he was doing?
What's up?
He was using cannabis to pay for a car.
What?
Yeah, about 30 pounds worth of cannabis he was going to use to pay for a car. And in his defense, he gave him one of my notice to law enforcement that it was hemp. And I'm like, and when did this happen? A few weeks ago. I'm like, ain't none of my clients have called me for nothing. And that, for the past, like, I haven't given out a notice to law enforcement in a while.
Right.
And the one that I did give out, he said was dated in November. I'm like, I have no idea. I mean, maybe I've given out a few, but I could go through my list of clients and then like follow up and be like, hey, what are you doing?
Well, you would still need a COA.
That's what I told him. But then like the funny thing was when it got into the names, I'm like, well, it could be hemp. And he's like, yeah, but we only got field tests. I'm like, all right, well, don't forget to do the high pressure liquid chromatography because Illinois is a Delta 9 state and the obligation is on you to prove it. And then he started reading the names like Afghani cheese. And I'm like, that's not a hemp name, but maybe. I mean, like, there's a lot of interesting genetics now. And he's like, cereal milk. I'm like, no.
Oh my God. That's awesome.
No, it's not awesome, but it is the mitigating the influence of the illicit cannabis operators. And so that if you want to mitigate that influence, you have to license everybody. You can't just say Indiana's a crime. And then it's going to be there was some crap that just went down in Georgia. And so Georgia handed out cannabis licenses. I'm not sure if that's on the roundup because it happened like today, Saturday. It was kind of quiet. If we could get something about that Georgia thing, that would be really cool because they only gave out 6. It was a complete millionaires club. And it was not only a complete millionaires club, it was an inside, 2 of the companies that got the licenses had already sued them. I mean, it's like there's strategy in the competitive licensing rounds, and then there's strategy in the competitive licensing rounds. I mean, suing the state during the application process. I mean, like, imagine that. Like, Illinois opens up, or New Jersey or New York opens up to take licenses, and like Cresco just starts by suing them. It'll be hilarious.
Well, last time you bought black market bananas.
Well, right. But then that's one of the things where the way that you roll out the licenses at the state level or at the federal level isn't as easy as people kind of make it to be sometimes, unless you're going to go full on Oklahoma.
Right. Well,
pretty
even
cool.
Then, that's how we used to be here in Washington when it was just medical, right? Like money's going to take over. People with money and interests are going to take over with the rules. And Ben, like here in Washington State, the governing body just redefined Delta 9. They said no hemp-based products in Washington State products unless you're a I-502 licensee. So, like, you couldn't make Delta 9 from hemp-based and then sell it into the market. So that's been a big issue. I guess it's been. But one of the things is, though, the way the rules are written right now that's been stirring a lot of commotion is, like, THC, degrades and turns into other, turns into Delta 9 by itself sometimes, sitting on a shelf or whatever. And so they're assuming now, like, it's a very, it's a weird quandary because, like, if it sits on the shelf too long, now the store owner is now culpable of creating Delta 9, even though, I mean, it wasn't intentional. It's just what the plant becomes. It's an organic thing. But the LCB, the governing body out here, is now saying, they're saying, no, you cannot play in the I-502 markets unless you're I-502. So
that's cannabis products, because we're talking about hemp cannabis products and we're talking about THC cannabis products. Both of them are supposed to be cultivated pursuant to a license. But what about that was one of the other things, one of the other bullet points, is to determine whether cannabis products should go through a pre-market review before they are being marketed. What do you think about that? I mean, like, this would kind of solve a lot of these issues where it's like, what is this? Is this legal? Like, there be some type of screening like THCO and all the other ones that are coming?
Well, we talked about this before. If it's a consumable product, it needs to be tested as as a consumer product. This is just something that's ingested into our bodies, so it should be vetted for the most part, or lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And then also, one of the other bullet points was how to deal with international treaty obligations with respect to marijuana. And I think along those lines is going to be the with the tribes, with the nations, because here in Washington State, when we had 502 recreational legalization coming about, the state actually negotiated with the tribes that were in our grounds, and they're because they could have got easily underbidded at that 25% tax rate that they've easily. So it's definitely going to be a lot of rigmarole going through.
Yeah, man. And we're still trying to confirm the politics of the day when it comes to who. Oh, there it is. We have it in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, breaking 12 minutes ago.
Wow.
So, yeah, Georgia's Medical Marijuana Board charged 6 companies Saturday that will obtain the right to cultivate. The announcement is long awaited for 15,000 patients who have been authorized to use marijuana oil since 2015, but were not permitted to buy it. Talk about a bad medical marijuana program. Why do you have a medical marijuana program with 15,000 patients since 2015 that you've done nothing for?
And I'm sure the illicit market's booming. Like, let's just go with that. Like, it's Georgia. Unfortunately, it's the South.
Well, it's a packed room of 200 people because 69 teams had applied for these 6 licenses. The Georgia Access to Medical Cannabis Commission voted unanimously to select 6 companies. And the state law limits the number of medical marijuana producers to 6. Each license will be authorized to open 5 dispensaries. They're vertically integrated. This is a nightmare of a regulation. You're just letting the MSOs go right in, become vertically integrated. Atlanta has too many people in it that smoke weed to allow this to happen. But maybe there's forces at play that we don't know, like the illicit market, for example.
Well, how long do you think until, because Alabama, they got medical light as well, and in Florida, and so
this is Florida basically. I mean, this is essentially how, but Florida's only difference is unlimited dispose, and so that's why Trulieve is like 50% of the state, because they just keep opening dispensaries, and then as they open a new dispensary, they just get more canopy space.
Well, Virginia just did recreational. It's only a matter of time these states realize the harms are not there.
Thanks for tuning in. You guys need to lobby and influence your legislature and tell them how you want the state to do it, because otherwise you're going to get stuff like Georgia here. So 2 companies won cultivation licenses. Trulieve, an affiliate of Trulieve Cannabis Company, and Botanical Sciences, LLC, located in Glenville, South Georgia. That one's interesting. I wonder who was on that application for Botanical Sciences. And then 4 companies get licensed to operate a smaller 50,000 square foot growing room. So that's canopy size. So 100,000 and 50,000 square foot flowering canopy space. That's 10x on the Illinois craft grow, or like the Massachusetts craft license of a 5,000 square foot canopy, or 1,250 plants. 10x on that. So you're talking about 12,500 plants. That is just ridiculous. That is not the illicit market cultivation.
No, it's not. And I mean, I hope when these states get it's approved, you got licenses. Now you're gonna have build outs. Now you're gonna have contracts being involved. I really do hope a lot of that stays within Georgia. But unfortunately, as we've seen, a lot of these big companies operate out of town. They operate, when they say, you give $1 to a local company, and most of it's, 90% of it stays local. Whereas if you go to Walmart, 80% of that goes to the headquarters in Walmart, because you're paying for the Walmart lawyers and the, at the headquarters, the Walmart CEOs at the headquarters. You're not paying for your local people. Mm-hmm. And I really hope that stays more local to generate more revenue.
No, well, the 4 that have the 50,000, I haven't heard of these, but soon to be MSOs somewhere. FFD GA Holdings, TheraTrue Georgia LLC, Nature's GA LLC, and Trivana Remedy Inc. So out of all of those, it appears that Trivana Remedy Inc. is the only one that's setting itself up for an acquisition in an all-stock deal, or these LLCs could actually have a member who is a C Corp. There's interesting things afoot in Georgia. Sorry that you weren't one of the 6 companies who's had the highest scoring application. I don't think I would have gotten the highest scoring unless I had the right team. And that right team, I would have told to write a $50,000 at least check to the right political action committee.
Oh yeah. And then unfortunately, it's proven that Georgia's easy to pay off. You know, I mean, when the governor won his election and was his own counting board member, I mean, that just tells you, I'm going to investigate myself. I got this.
Right. That's right. And retired law enforcement, and the political connections, and then just a big pot of money, and then a wonderful story. That's what I would have tried to do to win. Of course, having like an actual complete application that demonstrates 100% compliance is necessary as well.
Yeah, and then that's the fun regulation stuff.
Woo! There we go.
But
let's keep it light then. Let's keep it light, and because we are how many minutes has it been?
Where we at here?
16. So it's we got enough time for this story before we pull a 420 somewhere. Congressman says marijuana is only a performance-enhancing drug for hot dog eating contests.
Congressman on Wednesday blasted a suspension of U.S. runner Sha'Carri Richardson. I swear I say her name wrong every time now. From the Olympics over a positive marijuana test. Said cannabis is only performance-enhancing drug in the context of food eating competitions. Go figure.
Tell you what, Representative Steve Cohen, a Democrat from Tennessee, argued that it's hypocritical that athletes would be penalized for using marijuana when alcohol use is largely tolerated.
And he said it's time for Congress to fix the policy gap and catch up with the public by federally legalizing cannabis.
Yeah, and then we had that wonderful conversation that'll be forthcoming with Vivian McPeak, where he asked that he just wants equality with alcohol. That's all we really are after, is equality with alcohol. She wouldn't have been punished if she was drinking beer. She shouldn't be punished because she was using cannabis.
Right. Any level of cannabis. Cohen said marijuana is not a performance-enhancing drug unless you're entered in the Coney Island hot dog eating contest on the 4th of July. To take Richardson's right to appear in her dream away from her is absurd, and Congress should see that we don't have these problems in the future. And I believe the governing testing body they're asking the Olympic Committee to change their stance,
Yep, and he went on to lampoon the hypocrisy. If she would have gotten rip-roaring drunk on margaritas, Red Bull, or whatever else you drink out there these days, lagers, she would have been fine because it would not have shown up in her system. She still would have been allowed to run. But for marijuana, it could have been 20 days ago and just a few puffs, and she's gone.
And she was in Oregon, so it'd be like a good IPA that she would have had. But
well, Oregon has good supply. Oregon has a good supply of high quality cannabis.
Well, I mean, like the beer, that's the joke in the Northwest. We're all like wear plaid and long beards and drink IPAs, which I do drink a lot of IPAs.
Yes, beer. So do I. I'm from the middle of nowhere.
Right. I mean, that's just the flavor that I go with, man. Right. But the next story is going to relate to that, but we should have the 420 here in a minute before we dig into it, because it's funny when you see hypocrisy out there,
Oh, what was a really interesting thing about 420 yesterday, and it just was happenstance. So the winners of the craft grow that I helped apply came down to discuss strategy and valuations and capital requirements and next steps, and you have to submit the fee for your license and all that great stuff. And so we made it to the post office to do some posterity and also a little bit of marketing, be like, you're there, smile, I helped, yay. And it just so happened to be 420 when we were sending it and doing the video. And so I thought that was hilarious, because then you check, because your phone records things and it puts a timestamp on it.
Yeah.
So yesterday at 420, I recorded that little thing and I posted it to YouTube today on our reel, and then I kicked my camera because I'm professional.
No, I saw it. It's pretty. I never. Those guys look pretty freaking happy, man.
Well, you would be too. There's a lot of people that are sucking on a lemon. A lot, like 99. No. Let's see. It was 430 for 4. So like about the 10 to 1. So like 90% of people are pissed. And then
if a lawsuit happens now, does that mean their licenses are revoked, or is everything still going forward?
they're going forward. Like those licenses have been awarded. And so if the people took them, they took them. Now the state has to take them back. And so they would have to be disqualified by getting out of compliance with the terms of their license. And so, if something goes wrong or if they're flagrantly violating like the track and trace system, stuff like that, and then there's slippage, if they fail, oh, there it is. Yeah. Regulations.
Brown chicken, brown cow.
But that's the thing about the regulators, man. They're in it with you. And so they want you to do the thing that you're there to do. That's why they gave you the license. And so, you're supposed to follow the rules. That's
oh, yeah.
I mean, good weed, though, I think requires a lot of rules. Like, you just can't throw a seed out there and expect it to turn into amazing weed.
Well, we talked to not just the weed, but the after part too, like manufacturing edibles. We talked to Green Revolution out here, and I had 4 SOPs just for one thing.
And what was their thing? What did they stress?
It was which part of it? Cleanliness or
quality ingredients?
Yeah,
all about quality ingredients.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, like that's the thing. You have a good dinner from what you eat. You are what you eat. I think that's the fundamental thing about like cannabis. Like it's like you and me. This is 101. Like most people, you should be like, this is not rocket science, right? Like it's not GMO. This is a plant that's grown, and then it's as good as you put into it. You get back. Good weed takes time to grow. But along with the story about Sha'Carri, Twitter was in an uproar this weekend, along with like all the other left. Why Twitter is seeing red over Olympian Megan Rapinoe's cannabis endorsement. And it's not a cannabis, right? The trending thing was CBD versus THC.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really. This is not really. She doesn't have a THC thing, right? So runner Sha'Carri Richardson made national headlines after she was not selected to complete at the Olympics due to a positive drug test. The fastest woman in the world couldn't go running with us. Right. Now fellow Olympic hopeful in soccer Megan Rapinoe is facing backlash in light of the decision after Richardson not competing in Tokyo. That's because the U.S. national teams are speaking out about using CBD or cannabidiol. Yeah, say that 10 times, allergies. An active ingredient found in cannabis as part of her training program, which seems to fly in the face of Richardson's suspension, which it does. Most people don't understand that, THC, CBD, I mean, they're all cannabinoids. They're like cousins.
Right.
So Revolt notes, Rapinoe's sister is behind Mendy. The line of products, including CBD gummies, her soccer star sibling says she uses. I mean, there is hypocrisy though, right? Like they I mean, but the nice thing was when Sha'Carri had her trials and tribulations, people stood up. People stood up and voiced how wrong it was. I mean, even made it to Congress. Hell, you have a congressman talking about it. And I think she got a job now with Dr. Dre and Beats. Good on her, but what? She shouldn't have to. Poor girl should be able to live her dream, just like the CBD girls should be allowed to.
Hypocrisy. Another Twitter user, another tweeter, I guess, tweeted. Even if this is about CBD, which is not banned, and not THC, which is banned, which SAR had tested positive for, the argument for banning CBD is that it's a performance enhancer for its relaxing and analgesic properties, which can also be achieved with CBD use. The double standard continues to apply, just more hypocrisy on it. So if she would have been smoking a hemp cigarette, well, that could have still had a trace of THC in it and caused a failed test. She would have just been using Epidiolex, pure CBD. In theory, she shouldn't have tested. But she would have had to save similar effects.
Yeah. But I'm curious, too, though. Flip it. What if Sha'Carri was white and Marino was black? Do you think the
think you would have been tested at all? Randomly?
Yeah. I mean, like, would there have been these issues, and then would the young black woman in soccer have been praised for starting a CBD company? That's, I wonder. But, it's a great hypocrisy.
Great hypocrisy.
We got going on. 420 bumper? Nope.
No, I think we already did that one. We're in the Utah cannabis lawsuit alleges an improperly how state doled out grower licenses. Coming soon to a state like Illinois, a new lawsuit out of Utah claims that the multi-state cannabis cultivators had an unfair advantage in competition for one of Utah's lucrative marijuana growing licenses, and that state officials coached certain applications on how to win.
Yeah. Officials at the Utah Department of Agriculture and Food allowed their personal connections to sway them as they doled out the 8 licenses in 2019, according to the federal complaint filed Monday by one of the rejected applicants. And I don't know if people are familiar with the Utah legalization process so far, but they've already been deep with a history of like improprieties. First it was the Department of Health. They were going to try and make it so like only the pharmacies can prescribe drugs, and there was a woman behind that was like in the pharmacy company. Like, there's a lot of shady shit that they've been a part of.
A lot of shady stuff, but then it is cannabis, and so you're making an illicit market into a lawful market, and you're going through politics to do it. You're shocked that there's going to be it's going to be somewhat rigged. I mean, next you're going to think like that consulting fee that you had to pay to the brothers thing to get the zoning taken care of. Well, was that a bribe? Was it a bribe? But one of the courses that I think I'll eventually have on cannabisindustrylawyer.com will be like how to record everyone without them knowing. Just make sure that you're always in compliance with anything. I mean, so at least then you'd have that on tape, because somebody's going to make that suggestion that you should do that in order to get something.
Isn't this crazy though? I mean, especially like for the land of Utah, Mormons and self-righteous people, whatever. You have this product that it's coming from the illicit market. It's coming from the non-traditional market, but yet it was viewed as the black market, the bad market. People are deviants for being a part of it, but yet once things become regulatory, there's still a lot of fucked up like just wrongness about like the way people. They're not trying to get it for the betterment of everybody. It's like we talked about before, the area of entry.
Once it's benefiting you, it's pretty darn good. Once that benefit starts going to somebody else at the exclusion of you, then you're like, wait a minute. Yeah. We need something to protect the entry to market or the limited market, But when it's 8 licenses and then that's how they're handed out, I could see that they would make this type of lawsuit with the intention of what? Settling for a license, because they'll raise a lot of stink. And then that's where a lawyer who's a litigator, and I used to be a litigator and it was fun, but then you have to like do it. And it's not as much fun as, cannabis applications and operations and valuations. Right. But so you sue them and then you get into discovery. And then eventually, if you can afford it, that's the thing, if you can afford it, because you have to keep suing. And that might be $250,000.
Damn.
Yep.
I mean, well, as they begin here, not only was this unfair to the plaintiff JLPR LLC, the lawsuit claims, but it also damaged the state's medical cannabis program in its infancy. Man, it's like the second or third thing that's been hurting the medical program in its infancy. The JLPR is demanding that the court order UDAF, that's the Utah Department of Agriculture and Food, to grant it a growing license or put it first in line for a license when the next one becomes available. The company is asking for unspecified monetary damages to cover its lost profits and attorney and consulting fees. Well, that's going to be an interesting one. Like, here's my pretend money that I would have made if you gave me a license because I did everything right.
My financial models are right. Give them the license. And then hopefully you build it out and the price of flour approximately stays there. Otherwise, we just update it every quarter. Like stuff like that.
Yeah, it's still a growing market. I mean, there's so much not known that's not going to be. To me, when I see statements like that, like still you owe us the billions of dollars, even though half the people we talk to who come into cannabis expecting to be millionaires in the first 2 years are like, I'm in the hole.
Right. Yeah. But they say they do not have to comment on the lawsuit because they have not yet received or reviewed it. And of course, the department never comments on lawsuits. That's an exception to the Open Meetings Act. So remember that one.
Interesting.
And then, so an example of the flaws in the licensing process, the lawsuit points out that the department made a last-minute rule change that opened the door for out-of-state cultivators, as opposed to like not allowing the out-of-state cultivators, which would have triggered a different lawsuit. And so it's amazing, you know,
Right?
no matter how the state tries to regulate it, they're going to get sued. Welcome to, you know, legalizing cannabis 101 for your state.
Yeah, you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't.
Kinda.
You know, the complaint further alleges, without giving specifics, that agriculture agency officials in charge of evaluating submissions gave certain companies an unfair advantage by sharing inside information. Totally true. And the fact that multi-state growers secured 4 out of the 8 available cultivation licenses demonstrates the officials were biased in their favor. That's not biased. They were just getting paid more.
They were getting paid more, but then there's also the if they have no out-of-state cultivation, there's so much talent, knowledge, and skill in the industry that's not in the legacy industry, unless that legacy industry is operating in a state that has like the lawful industry. There's a lot to be gained from and then the interstate commerce of the states is a very important thing in our country, and you should be able to invest in a company that is got a cannabis license in a particular state. I mean, you should maybe not have like the majority ownership position of. They could have other types of requirements therein, but or the license holder itself must reside in the state, because then if something goes wrong, it's like, all right, whose grow is that? Bob. Well, where's Bob? Florida. You know, there has to be somebody who's the manager that resides in state. That one I agree with.
Oh yeah, I mean, I believe in fair practice. Like as this plant becomes more and more accepted and a money grab essentially in all these states, you know, I believe the states people like in Detroit. It's a shame that someone sued the Detroit, because if you can just keep the money local first, it'll build the communities and infrastructure. I think a lot better than MSOs.
Right, but then when you make this stuff in such a way that you prevent interstate commerce, you violate federal law, and then you're always going to draw a lawsuit, especially if there's enough money on the line, and there's enough money on the line, you know? I'm much more concerned about the god-darn taxes they're trying to put on that. That's what's going to be driving the illicit market in the future, trying to avoid taxes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But
I wonder, do they do this with cigarettes out where you live? Like out where I live, people will drive to Indiana to buy cigarettes, especially if they live near the border, or like Kentucky. Like an out-of-state, more Republican state has a lower cigarette tax than Illinois has cigarette tax.
Yeah. We got. Oh yeah, they're like $11 a pack here. The syntax is insane. And then, Oregon and Idaho, or whenever I used to travel on the road, I'd buy my wife packs of cigarettes out there.
But that's what it's going to be. And so, like, if your state has a lower tax on your cannabis than the next state, people are going to do that again. You know, they're doing it now. Oh, yeah. That's, you know, mostly because Illinois, your guy's supply isn't as reliable as the supply that you can get in an Illinois dispensary. It's just not. I mean, you're going to pay a premium, but the reliability of supply in the streets is something I don't know.
Well, and then like you were saying about the taxes, you find somebody across state lines. Like I know a guy that I think in Virginia, he has a friend that sends him cartons of cigarettes because it's like insane. No scent, like, you know, those are people that can embrace cigarettes. They're like, oh, you get tax my freedom. But yeah, he pays pretty much like at price compared to out here. I would imagine the same thing would happen with cannabis, you know, but that a lot of it be coming from California, Oregon out to the other side, because that's where the good quality cannabis has been for a while.
Well, that's going to be the questions of the regulators after it's federally legal. How do you get that tax stamp on the state and also the federal level? So that administration of that tax collection is going to just be like that cigarette tax stamp. I've never really seen a tax stamp on like a package of beer, but I'm assuming it has to be there, you know?
Oh, yeah, I imagine so. But yeah, I mean, like, in the end, as we've seen, cannabis nothing but benefits your state and your local community. You know, you saw in marijuana legalization has increased Arizona home values thanks to Arizona marijuana.
That's great.
Yeah,
I think that has marijuana increased the home values in Seattle too.
Oh yeah. Oh, I would definitely, you know, but I think our what would you call it? Like growth of industry or spurts gets blended in with tech too. You know, so like marijuana was always here. You know, it's
been an industry, but then like Amazon is like 1.23 or something million employees. Much bigger of a driver of the price of real estate in Seattle's real estate market. But yeah, that's cool. that Colorado, I mean, like but it appears that it's in other states. Like Colorado, home values went up from 89,000 in 2017 went up 89,000. I'm sorry. Where I live, you can buy a house for $50,000. You can't. We're trying to sell one for $75,000.
Yeah, it blows my mind, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in Colorado, that was within the first year after legalization. I saw a Vice report where, because of the influx of people that are trying to get jobs in the cannabis industry, and then also the success of the ones that are in it already, the market goes up. Real estate people are in heaven from this. It's insane. In Texas, where recreational marijuana is not legal, home values increased $40,000 during the same time span, just by in the neighborhood of Oklahoma.
Yeah,
I'd imagine so.
Yeah, and so like that research, they found cannabis tax revenues funded more state programs such as education and healthcare, and it also brought tourist and more business opportunities.
Let me give you my shock face.
No, I'm just giving you my thank you, Illinois, for starting to bring the industry to the state face, woohoo! And not only that, it's that you're going to start seeing that. So I'd like to see the data on Oklahoma as a very open industry. That's where I think a lot of the innovation would happen. Oklahoma, Michigan, because you can actually get a license. But sometimes when it's really easy to get a license,
But when we talk innovation, though, I don't know how much more can happen. We're not talking about innovation in beer anymore. We're not talking about innovation in cigarettes. I think what we need more now is just a structural. I know you saw a lot of products out here with the SKUs that you were like, I didn't know there's so many SKUs, and to me it was just Tuesday.
Right. Well, I mean, for the plant is a very complex plant, and so it's going to have substantially more SKUs once you get into the building materials of it, and the battery aspect of it, and then also the plant, the medicinal aspect of it. So you have those three main areas that the industry could create strains and also variation. And it's a building material, and it's a very complex drug.
Yeah.
So you're talking organic chemistry, there's a lot of variance and nuance there.
But we're still waiting for at least a good portion of the population to catch up with that understanding that this magical plant can do all these things. True.
But as long as the robots know.
Shoot. What else? I was gonna say too, because we talked about the tourists. I've been preaching about that for over 10 years. When I first started writing, it's when I love the United States. I used to love traveling as a technician or traveling as when I was in the Navy, going to schools. I love driving through the interstates and whatnot. And the only thing I always think about, if I could just smoke weed in every state, without having a risk of going to jail or getting pulled over, or being looked at as
good. It'd be pretty good.
Yeah, life would be great, and that would be the tourist thing, though. I it's okay smoke or drinking beer in South Dakota, but I'd rather smoke a doob and just enjoy the flatlands. Marijuana makes everything a little better.
It can. Hey, we have something that's a little different, so I'm gonna do a bumper, and then we're gonna play something in lieu of Name That Strain. Let's see.
Pretty funny.
All right, we're going to do strain name or wrestling finisher instead of name that strain, since we're doing a pre-recorded episode. So I'm going to say a name of something. You guys are going to say whether it is a strain name or wrestling finisher. Buzz in with your name, basically.
Sweet.
All right, so the first one, Beast Mode 2.0.
Oh, that's weird.
I like how he's like, oh, that's weird. And I'm like, Beast Mode 2.0. And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I thought that was a football thing, but I don't know.
Strain name, it's an Indica Dom hybrid of Master Kush and White Fire OG.
Yeah, it is a football. He's from out here in Seattle.
So that's
Beast Mode.
Seattle. Yeah, Beast Mode is way more widely known in Seattle than Central Illinois.
I was like, some stoner out here fucking knows some shit out that guy.
Okay, the next one, Blue Thunder Bomb.
Okay, that one's real hard because the word bomb's in it, so it clearly could be a wrestling move. I'm going to go strain name, though.
Damn, I'm going to go wrestling move.
Miggy, you're right. It is a wrestling finisher.
I'm 2 for 2.
Jun Akiyama. Jun Akiyama.
What? Let's do.
The next one, F5.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, that's a weed, but that's like for genetics of weed. I've never heard of like an F5 being a strain name, so that has to be a wrestling move, in my opinion.
Tom, you're correct. That is Brock Lesnar's trademark finisher.
No shit. Yo, taste the phenome.
Nice. Taste the phenome, yeah.
The next one we got is Picketing Paralyzer.
Ooh. Dude, that's a wow.
Picketing Paralyzer.
Man, that'd be really good weed though. Or it better be really good weed.
It should be. It should be like a very heavy indica dominant. Like, you smoke that, and that's like the last thing on your agenda for the day.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go wrestling move though.
I'm gonna go strain name then.
Tom, you're right. Strain name. It's a rare strain out of Pickening, Michigan. We're tied up 2-2. Last one. Last one is 9 Pound Hammer.
Oh, that's weird.
Oh yeah, we got to abstain on that. Like, because like they were handing out those 9 pound hammer joints at Sitka last week.
A bunch.
Yeah,
too easy, damn.
But it's a good one though.
It's great. It's great. Yeah, I mean, both of us gave it a thumbs up and then took a nap.
We need to get like a little weed coming off a ring and coming down.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's what we need. If you are an animation type person and you want to like make some cartoons for that, hit us up. You know. Cannabis legalization news.
And that is strain name or wrestling finisher, guys. Back to news.
Yeah, so congressional lawmakers push marijuana protections for all states while GOP member seeks to end medical cannabis rider. Marijuana moment.
An amendment to protect all state and tribal marijuana programs from federal interference now has 15 co-sponsors after its bipartisan proponents circulated a letter to build support this week. But a Republican opponent is pushing a dueling proposal to end a more modest, long-standing rider that's provided protections for medical cannabis states alone.
Interesting. The hope with this pro-reform amendment is to attach the proposal to 2022 fiscal year spending legislation for the Commerce, Justice, Science, and related agencies. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Doug Malfa, Republican from California, is taking the unusual step of filing a competing measure that would cease federal protections for states with medical cannabis legalization on the books, including his own, that have been in place and renewed annually on a bipartisan basis since 2014. Holy
That's crazy,
crap, dude!
That guy just said that he wants the raids to start, basically. You know.
My question is, like, let's just say the protections, but let's get rid of them.
No, but I think that's interesting. But the Democrats control the show this budget year. I think their aspect is going to get in there, and the DEA is going to be defunded from all state operations. And then I don't know what Doug LaMalafa is thinking about, where he wants by not having that protection, there's money for the DEA to go bust the industry.
But why would you villainize your constituents? Like, that's like,
why? Yeah, why would you arrest your own people? Maybe he lives in one of those districts in California, because California is interesting, and like a lot of it still hasn't voted to legalize in their boundaries. You know, it's still a fairly divided state. Legalization is kind of interesting like that.
Yeah, no, that's true. Especially, California is kind of like divided, like many little fiefdoms in itself. But let's see, where were we at there?
Yep, it's the other stuff where they're adding language to prevent the Department of Justice from using any funds appropriated by Congress to enforce federal laws regarding activities that are legal under state, territorial, or tribal law, regardless of whether the laws are recreational or medical. That's what they're trying to put in, and that's what we've been asking for the whole time. So that's what we wanted, but then this other one filed a competing one to say, no, none of it. Anyway, it's been in past sessions, including in 2019, but was not attached to the final appropriations legislation sent to the president's desk under the GOP control of the Senate.
Damn. Now Democrats have a slim majority in the chamber. Advocates are optimistic that it could finally be enacted. As it stands, the spending bill rider that LaMalfa is attempting to strike offers the protection only to states with medical cannabis programs. This new broader amendment from reform supporters will expand that protection at a time when more and more states opting to legalize marijuana for adult use.
Yep.
I mean, it's not bad. I mean, well, Malfa's bad, but the other one.
Yeah, that's the road to legalization, from like saying like, all right, we aren't going to enforce it, provided that you have a state license. We aren't going to enforce it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Republican congressman bulldozes cannabis grows among farmers in California.
Wow.
Out of Politico.
California Republican congressman released videos this week of himself bulldozing unlicensed cannabis grows in a remote part of the state. A move local among farmers is likely to stoke racial tensions that have escalated during a major wildfire that continues to burn in the area. Wow, I can't believe this dude actually posted a video.
Look, don't you recognize this name? The office of Representative Doug LaMalfa posted a YouTube on a number of videos originally filmed in May that show him touring seized pot farms in Siskiyou County before operating a bulldozer to destroy greenhouses and cannabis plants. Operations he has long condemned as destructive to the environment. Did you know that an almond farm uses 33 times the water as that outdoor cannabis farm did?
Yeah, the science has clearly stated recently that cannabis does not do the harms that these people are talking about to the environment. And especially anyway, so the office of Representative Doug LaMalfa posted a video on YouTube. A number of videos originally filmed in May. Oh, you reread that part.
Yeah, the outdoor grows one.
Yeah. Outdoor grows are illegal in the county and often lack sewage systems and other environmental safety measures. But advocates for local farmers say the timing of the videos, weeks after law enforcement officers fatally shot a 35-year-old Hmong man during a mandatory wildfire evacuation, is problematic, as is the congressman's language.
And so did his douchey movie references and utter lack of understanding of cannabis continues. I love the smell of diesel power in the afternoon. It smells like victory, LaMalfa says in one of the videos. And so that's just a takeoff of the Vietnam War movie Apocalypse Now. However, it also really sucks. And it just goes to show that this person is not understanding the plant at all, but also demonstrates how California is still a story of two different states, more or less. It's legal in the sense that they couldn't have banned them from having it, but they can say that it's illegal for you to cultivate this stuff here. We aren't going to have a license for you. Move along, and then he can tout it like that.
And if you look at the, I'm looking at the video of the seized area, and it seems like these people had a well-kept area of a grow house and tents, and it doesn't seem very elaborate, with waste and toxic stuff around there. So it just looks to me that you just ruin a hardworking American's day, because I guarantee you they're Americans just because they're Hmong. They're here. They didn't call ICE. I mean, that could have been a thing too.
But they need to be licensed. I mean, a cannabis operation that large, depending on how large it is. I mean, if they are seizing illicit cannabis in California because it doesn't have the right license, that's worth $8 billion annually. The type of regulation where you're this half in, half out, we're able to say here you can't do it, but here you can. It really doesn't work.
Yeah. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, maybe fines, or I mean, to the point where you have
to have the right permits, but then there needs to be either a method to issue that permit or not. And so if they have that permit like that and they're operating without it, that is a non-conforming use.
What? So, but what other industry out there? So, say alcohol, you need a license for, and they find a distill. Would they destroy that? Would they tear down the building if they found a beer distillery inside?
No, they wouldn't have torn down the building, but that brewery still would have needed a license, and they probably would have given it to them because they like alcohol but not cannabis.
Right. I'm just trying to think of what other product out there that people just blatantly destroy. You know what I mean? This is the go-to now for cannabis. Where
I don't know, but I know that our international news story is really going to be what's going to help start changing the hearts and minds, because we need to flood this earth with weed.
Hey, Colombia boasts budding cannabis industry by removing ban on dry flower exports. Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Colombia on Friday gave the green light for export of dried cannabis for medicinal and other industries as the Andean country took another step to develop its marijuana industry, where progress has been slow despite high potential.
President Ivan Duque signed a decree lifting a prohibition on exporting dried cannabis flower, a move seen as crucial by investors. Wow.
Yeah,
go ahead, bro.
Nice.
The directive also allows for the expansion of sales of cannabis-based medicines and streamlines regulatory procedures. Oh, good on them.
Yep.
This
Colombia
could be
has been a pioneer in the regulating the possession, production, distribution, commercialization, and even export of seeds and plants and substances derived from cannabis, like oils, creams, and extracts for medicinal purposes. But investors have complained about what they say is a torturous export approval process. I mean, it has to be, because, like, where are you sending it to? Germany? Like, you can't import the weed here to America. But I thought that Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act said you could. So if you don't have weed in your state now, and Latin America is able to flood our country with weed, good luck.
I want to go on a field trip, dude. Latin America cannabis exports could be worth 8 or 6 billion, Duke said. In countries where the medicinal cannabis industry has more mature regulation, like the United States, the United Kingdom, Germany, and Israel, dry cannabis is the most developed sector of the market, accounting for more than 50% of all sales. Well, I'm a flower power person, so I mean, that's what I smoke.
Yeah, me as well. And the price point and the quality, like Colombia, that was what Bobby Tuna was smuggling into America in the 70s. And then he has that black tuna label now down in True Leaf. And so that's about the only True Leaf label that I want to smoke, because it's supposed to be modulating the estimated genetics of that Colombian gold that Bobby Tuna was smuggling from Colombia into the United States in the 70s in Florida with that Square Grouper movie.
Right.
That would be awesome. But, if they're able to flood the market with, 50 cent a gram weed, and it's high quality. I mean, there's a reason why all the flowers that are in your Costco, they probably came from Colombia. It's going to be interesting, and the industry will get way more difficult, and then trying to mind your margins will be. But then, do you think people are going to buy local? Do you think people would buy craft, social equity cannabis when they could buy the cheaper Colombian cannabis?
Well, here's what I see. It's funny in all these reports that always say, like, flowers the most purchased part of the most consumed, whatever. Of course it is, because you know what? Guess where rosin comes from? Guess where concentrates come? Guess where the infused butter comes from? Or guess where kief comes from? I mean, so like the flour is always going to be your main source for this, right? For whatever. No, depending on the quality, yeah. If Brazil can produce some good quality flour, if I can buy a pound for $20, well, I'm gonna be infusing the shit out of everything in my house. I'm gonna be chasing like the dog. Come here.
Yeah, I don't know. And then you come from where they have $30 ounces. And I've never seen Colombian. So if Colombian is the equivalent of a $30 ounce in Washington State, and Washington State's got a good outdoor climate in which to cultivate cannabis, so does Colombia. I don't know how much better it's going to be.
My only concern would be transportation, like, because the plant, unless it's a plant, it's a consumable product, and that it's susceptible to mold and other things. So unless it's properly packaged and stored, who knows what you're getting from there.
Yeah. You stock it on the plane, and then you fly it out of there.
Or they turn it all in the hash and then export it.
If the flower quality is really, really high, what you do is you try to have like a $75 eighth for $35.
Yeah. Oh, that would sell, dude.
Yeah.
I think it would.
Well, that's going to do it for cannabis legalization news. Make sure you like and subscribe to keep up with all cannabis legalization news. We'll see you on Wednesday for a special Seattle episode.
Ooh, that's a good one.
We'll see you then.